welcome to the Koi Perspective. I'm with Andrew from Burtons Aquatics. I'm quite amazed at the size of the facility you've got, to be fair. You've got quite a lot of wider Burton's business here as well. I mean, the aquatic side of it is just like a segment of the business.
Yeah, it's a separate kind of element where predominantly it's veterinary kind of manufacturing, which, as you'll see in a bit, it's quite a big site, lots of people doing quite interesting things.
Yeah, magic. And I think I've known you for obviously a few months now. You've got a background in koi, you've been a hobbyist before.
Yeah, so probably from the age of 14 or 13, 14, I used to keep koi. I used to show fish as well.
Oh, wow.
At the time, which was the South East Koi Show, it's now the All England. I won a couple of small prizes, but at the time I was brilliant. So yeah, it's kind of quite enjoyed the element of being a hobbyist. I used to enjoy playing around with the ponds back in the days of vortexes and matting chambers and things like that. So yeah, it's quite, probably kept koi now for off and on 25 years, I suppose, maybe.
And the filters then, when you were showing koi, what filters were you running?
So I think we had vortexes and matting chambers, maybe some brushes and what have you, but I think it just kind of tippered over from your like brick built kind of Canterbury Spa and Lytag and things like that. So we kind of had the modern chambered filters with matting, which are, brilliant, but me being the kind of young lad in the family who was interested in the fish, I was out there all the time cleaning the matting chambers and pulled the brushes out, and which was an education. but yeah, which still worked really well, but it was, the upkeep was a bit more labour intensive.
And so when did it start kind of professionally for you with koi then?
So being the area I lived, I was quite near a koi shop, so kind of was always in there buying fish or looking at other stuff, and then kind of got offered a weekend job, and then it kind of tailed from that, done a little bit of work experience there as well. And then kind of when I left school, got offered a job there, so kind of thought, do you know what, I'm kind of quite up for doing something I like, opposed to having to go and learn something. And then I think I stayed with that business for about 20 years.
Wow, crazy. It kind of becomes a more than a full-time job, doesn't it, when you do something like that?
I think almost anyone who works in the koi industry, you've got to like the koi industry to work in it.
Yeah.
It's not like being an investment banker or something where you think I'm going to do it for the money. It's definitely got to be a hobby or a passion.
It's hard work as well, working at a dealership.
I used to, the koi shop I worked in, you'd be doing shipments, and you could be doing one night after the next, going to the airport collecting fish, which I think you've been recently. Yeah, so it's quite
frustrating at times.
Yes, sometimes you get that sweet spot of you turn up and it's ready, but it's very rare. Many a time I've kind of slept in the van for hours on end. And we were always quite close. We were probably only an hour away from Gatwick, which is quite a luxury really compared to some of the other poor sods who had to travel halfway up the country with them.
Yeah, crazy. But you've obviously started at Burton's. How long is it ago you joined?
So I left Koi Water Barn about almost 5 years ago now.
Wow.
Kind of wanted a different path. Quite enjoyed the kind of koi aspect of things. Like going to Japan, liked all the fish and playing around with them all the time. Really, as soon as that shipment comes in, I was the first one to pick the fish up and look at them and into the pond, photograph them and what have you. But I've always had an interest for the pond, the system itself. I think that kind of sits in my head a bit better. I can understand a pump, I can understand the system. With the koi, there's so much of a mystique with it. There's no kind of yes or no with them. There's always an opinion, and it's always a bit tricky and what have you. Where the filtration, for many years I've been fitting other people's drum filters and Nexuses and multi-bays and all the other kind of stuff on the market. And always used to really enjoy putting that on the pond, giving the customer the result after a few days of it running, and kind of really enjoyed that bit. So Burton's was quite an interesting option when it turned up, something where you can be involved in the actual creation of a filter. And drum filters are one of the most popular types of filters in the market now. It's the fact you can have something where it's not maintenance free, but minimal maintenance, and you get a nice clear pond is appealing to a lot of people now.
And For yourself, what do you remember? Like the first drum filter you ever saw?
I remember seeing something at the barn, which was, I think we brought it in for a customer requested us to bring it in, and we were like, I don't know about that. And it was from, I believe it was from China, and it had like a bicycle chain on it, and it looked like someone had just made it themselves. Possibly, it was. I imagine the market wasn't that big for it, and it done the job. It wasn't very neat and tidy, but it done the job. Loads of money, but that was probably 12 years ago, maybe a bit longer, I guess. Yeah. So it was kind of early days for the drum filters. Been around for years, but for the koi industry, it was quite early. But yeah, it's quite interesting to see it. But it was almost at that point, oh, that was good. And then we forgot about it for a few years. It wasn't really...
It never took off like massively quickly.
No, I think it was a few kind of more kind of established hobbyists. They would buy it in, but yeah, it wasn't a mass product then. Which obviously nowadays it's... If you go to a koi show, say, there'll be 3 or 4, 5, 6 different people who manufacture or make their own filters, so it's kind of definitely turned into its own part of the industry.
Yeah, and for Burtons, I get the feeling that you obviously produce a lot of things here that are just as complicated as drum filters, and if not more complicated.
So yeah, drums are comparison to some of the other stuff we make. We make a lot of stuff for the veterinary market, so things like autoclaves and oxygen concentrators and things like that, which are, yeah, there's more wizardry in that than a drum filter is. If you make it right, it's quite simple. Yeah. But that's the element, is making it right, having the access to put all the bits in the right areas and what have you, and trying to make something that is easy to maintain, doesn't cost a lot to run. That's the hard bit, if you know what I mean. Yeah. But yeah, so there's lots of kind of interesting things that, because we're in this environment where there's machinery and guys who know about wiring, about controllers and what have you, we can kind of pinch a little bit of information from everyone and kind of better the aquatic product without employing a wiring loom expert.
Or a consultant, and you've just got people in-house where you can go, I've got this idea, how do we do this?
Yeah, so which is quite kind of definitely a luxury that we profit on.
Awesome. And then the range then, obviously, how has that kind of developed since you've been here?
So the drums have been around for about 12 years, maybe 13 years now. It started as a BD 500, so a 55,000 litre an hour drum, which would do a pond. We don't like to say pond sizes for drums because it's a bit of a messy kind of explanation. But if you averaged it, probably a 4,000 gallon pond, something like that. That started off, I think we done a few in that size in our old Mark 1 drums. Then it expanded to a 700, then it went to a 300, so kind of respective flow rates. And then a few years later, we developed our TF filter, which is like a tube, which we'll see a bit later. So it has inlets both sides. What we can do on that as well is we can put spray bars or spray jets in the waste chute, so it keeps the waste chute a bit clearer. And then naturally as well, biotanks. People want biotanks for a while. We'll start making a range of those biotanks. We make a few different styles nowadays. And then we kind of went on to showers, which was something that we never kind of really thought about doing, but a few people kept asking us, so we thought, oh, well, we could make one, it's only a bit of metal. Yeah. So we kind of designed a shower. And then people go, oh, can you make it out of polyprops? You know, okay, we'll make them out of polyprop. And it's kind of, we're a little bit led by the customers or the dealers kind of going, oh, can you make one of these? And we go, oh, okay. So we make one for someone and then go, oh, actually, we can sell this. So we do an auto top-up. We do a couple. But we do one which is probably quite a new product for us, where you put it on the side of a tank and it senses the water through the tank, which is quite and it's quite simple. It's usable in most gravity-fed systems.
Nice.
But that was only because someone asked for a variant of what we do and they wanted it a little bit different. And we go, no, yeah, we could do that. And like we do, we had a guy who wanted us to make some air bars for him, so from abroad. So we kind of got some of the tubing from him, and then we thought, oh, actually, we can make this as a product. It's something, a little bit at the end that we have to machine, but we just asked Brian in the machine shop to machine it. It's quite. If we were going in and buying 1,000 of these little components, then we possibly wouldn't have committed to trying that out. So it's quite fun to make new products. So we're ever evolving our range, but we still try. Probably for the last 8 years worth of drums, if you've got a drum from 8 years ago and we've put a new component on today's drum, most of that is retrofittable. So that is a bit tricky trying to design a part that can go on an old drum, but it's quite good to try and keep your customer base happy.
Yeah.
If you've got a system from us which is 3 years old, we've not washed our hands and gone, no, sorry, you have to buy a new one.
Yeah.
We still make the components from the 12-year-old drums as spares and what have you for people.
Yeah. No, I think it's really cool to see like the evolution of it. The air bars that you touched on, I mean, the aeration bars at the moment seem all the rave. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah, there's a few people kind of talking about them. I say again, it was a thing that
just someone asked you for.
Yeah, someone asked us for, so we made a little some little special bits that we make on the end. And then we kind of trialled them out ourselves in a few of our own ponds and we're like, oh, these are good. And then we kind of, as we thought about, oh, do you know what? So we managed to kind of source all the components. And then, yeah, they're quite a nice popular product, something quite nice to add to our range. So if we show you our manufacturing area. So these are our CNC and milling machines. So here we make quite a few components for the Burton's drums. So things like these spray tips, we used to buy these in from somewhere, but it was quite hard to kind of get the right part and it didn't quite do the job. So we made a few different options ourselves, tested them out, and then once we're happy with a version, we can run a batch of them. But the beauty is we can just make a couple, try them.
And not have to buy 100,000 of them.
No, you haven't got to commit to something. And then the problem is if you have to do that and buy a box of them and they're not quite right, you kind of need to use them really, because otherwise they're wasted. But in other items which are unique, like this is a UV holder.
Yeah. What
goes into our drum filter and you put our UVs into it. No one made that. That was an item that we just couldn't source from anywhere. So we just bought some stock bar stainless and just made this ourselves, which makes our product a lot more kind of adaptable, because if there's something missing from our range or an item we need to kind of make our range work for other components, we can just make it in-house.
Yeah.
So we make lots of the items in the drum, not just the kind of drum itself, but the little components that go in there. We don't buy a lot of it. We buy some items in, obviously, but a lot of the items, if we can't buy it in, or it's not quite right, or it's too expensive to buy, and it's sometimes easier and cheaper to make it
yourself.
And you can control the product. We know where that piece of brass has come from. We know where this bit of stainless has come from. We know where this Delrin's come from.
Yeah.
So we have greater control over the product.
Awesome.
You might be able to see in. You do get a lot of kind of coolant come off.
Not a cheap piece of equipment, that is it?
No, we've got a few of them. So yeah, at the end you get this.
Oh, that's interesting. Crazy.
So yeah, so there's lots of kind of. We've got a couple of these machines at the moment, and then we've got some more kind of slightly older fashioned versions, and then we still have a manual hand lathe, which is handy for R&D projects really.
Yeah.
You just want to do one of, you haven't got to clog a machine up.
It's really awesome. I think a lot of people might just think it's just a case of getting the parts in and sticking it all together, whereas a lot more actually goes into the production of it.
It's a thing that we're quite proud of, the fact that we make a lot of the items ourselves.
Yeah.
We have quite a good understanding of how those items are made. Opposed to just making it the quickest way possible, we'll kind of try and create it in a more sustainable way.
Awesome.
So this is a live tooling machine, a bit more kind of involved than that one. So it will do kind of more. You all right?
Yeah, I'm just sitting. I ain't got nothing.
You've got nothing set going. So it can work from different areas. So if you had a block like this, it can kind of put holes in here, threads in here.
Oh,
So
that's
it can
cool,
kind of do it a bit more. Unfortunately, it's not running at the moment, but
Get the idea though.
But yeah, you see all the tools on the top, so it rotates it, and you preload what tools you want on it, and it'll rotate them, and then pick whatever tool you've asked it to do, and it'll do its job there.
Awesome.
So you kind of just set it up and leave it to do its job.
So for the drums then, for something like this, what would you produce on?
Not many components come off this, but there's a few blocks what I think come off this machine. Predominantly, that machine is used for the smaller coir components. Yeah. So Burtons is a veterinary medical company, so it makes. Oh yeah.
I'll make a bigger version of this.
Okay.
It's gonna be slightly bigger.
Yeah. So you see like threads are in
Basically,
here.
all this starts as
It starts as that.
and then I turn it into.
Wow.
So there's all the different kind of elements and what have you.
Crazy.
So they're all, like these are all threaded,
Yeah.
which you can't go somewhere and buy that easily.
No. Or
Not
if
to
you-
your requirements.
If you gave another company these specifications, they'd probably charge you the world to make
Yeah.
something unique like that for your
Yeah,
business.
and the problem is, well, yeah, they might well do, but if we make the first batch of them and you go, oh no, that's not quite right, we can control that and change it quite quickly here.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Go through to our. So this is one of our lasers.
Wow. Holy moly. So we'll try not to get blinded by this then.
I don't think it's running at the moment. it's in its quiet mode at the moment. So yeah, so basically this, there's normally a forklift in here. The forklift picks the material, pops it on the bed, and then in there's a laser beam what cuts whatever component. Try and find you something coir related in here. Oh, here we go. So the gear on our drum,
Oh, okay.
we do it in 4 parts. For the main reason, it nests a lot easier. If we done it as one big gear, it's a lot of waste of material. Also, if you want to retrofit it, if you've got 4 separate bits, it's easier for someone to put it round, put a nice little keyway in it, and then we can
Stick
put
them all
letters on
together.
so we work out what they are. But yeah, so they're all made in here. Really simple bit of kit to cut if you've got the right bit of machinery.
Yeah.
I say we've been running the stainless steel gear now for probably just over 2 years, I guess, and a real game changer, a real kind of popular product. Then we got the small gear as well, what goes into it. So again, they start life in here. There's a bit of stainless.
Yeah. But it's so vast, isn't it? So many different pieces for all the different pieces of equipment you've got.
I'm sure every time I walk in here, there's a new thing. Which yeah, some of these are. Is there any coir stuff up there? Yeah, so that will be a clip. That will be folded, and that will be a clip on a drum filter what holds the mesh in place. So that will have a fold in it when it goes through to there. It'll get deburred first, and it'll have a fold put in it, and that is a metal like an L-shaped clip we use for coir. There's so many. It's always hard to work out what the components are when they're flat.
Yeah.
Because they kind of really change
because I
shape.
guess they all get manipulated to be something else.
So yeah, there's hundreds of items that are made in this bit. So these are
Ginormous.
they're the feet for our shower units.
Alright, okay, yeah.
So they go in the bottom of the tray and then kind of hold it onto the next level.
Quite heavy pieces of steel, these as well.
Yeah, it's
aren't
all stainless, yeah. So some of it obviously relevant to what its job is, so how thick it needs to be. Some of it where it's a bit thinner, when we put a fold in it, that gives it its strength as well.
Yeah. And I guess it's worth for people that don't know, the stainless steel won't rust in a koi pond, will it?
No, it depends what you're doing with your koi pond. But
Yeah.
yeah, even if you have a level of salt in the water, it's fine.
Yeah.
If you're going to marine grade, then maybe
Yeah.
you need a certain type of stainless steel. But yeah, no, generally stainless steel is not a problem.
That looks like a shower lid to me. That.
Yeah, so that's the lid of one of our showers. Don't know if there's any other components of those in here at the moment. So when the metal comes off the laser, it's always quite sharp because it's been laser cut. So it goes in this device, which is like a conveyor belt, and these are, it's called a time saver. So these are like sandpaper wheels, and they all spin, so it deburrs it all. So you literally put it in one end, comes out the other end, and it's all smooth.
And you don't slice your hands open when you're
Yeah, so
lifting it.
for smaller units, so this is like a car wash really, but it's neck of your car. For smaller units, we have a thing called a rumbler. So it looks like a giant tombola with these pebbles in it, and you put the small bits in it, and it kind of rumbles around. And but you wouldn't want to see that because it's so loud. You wouldn't. I think we only turn it on at night.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
awesome.
So with things like this shower lid, the lid for the shower, it would have gone over to this machine, and it would have got folded.
Ah, so it'll have gone in as just a straight piece of metal.
Straight
and then,
sheet, and then then it goes onto the machine, and then the guys put it to a certain point and fold it across.
Lovely.
Right. So yeah, all these items would have come off as flat sheet, and then they're just folded.
Amazing. And these have been welded as well, some of these.
Yeah, so which in the next bit, they get welded up, and this is having finishing tape put on it. So this is a window for an enclosure.
So you don't actually do windows for ponds yet? That's like the next
No.
evolution, I guess.
Well, we do windows for, so these are probably windows for hydrotherapy, which you'll probably see a hydrotherapy unit a bit later. So we do windows for those, and windows for dog cages, animal enclosures and things like that. There's probably enough people doing windows for ponds.
Yeah.
So this is where the TIG welding and MIG welding gets done, so mainly hand welding. You probably hear everyone busy welding away. Again, loads of different things are made in here. Coincidentally, there's some showers. So this is the tier of the shower for the lid you see back there.
Yeah.
So we normally throw these through in batches.
So this is where they all come to be assembled into.
Yeah, so this is one piece, which is folded. That's another piece, and they just get welded on, and then obviously these need tidying up before they'll go out to a customer.
And do you, with the showers, they build them just to your specification, or would you consider bespoke showers?
So we do get asked for custom stuff quite a bit. We try our best, but it's tricky. If it gets to this stage of being made and it's not like an R&D project, we need to do them in batches, really. We don't mind the odd custom thing. The honest thing, at times we're so busy making the stuff we currently make.
You want to focus on that?
Yeah, with some of the polyprop stuff it's a bit easier to do custom. But yeah, it is a bit tricky.
Amazing. And so do you assemble the polypropylene products, like the drums, in this place? Or is that...
It's another building.
Right, okay. So that's the actual drum.
So this is a drum after it's been cut. So it's been cut, welded, or rolled or welded. The ends got welded on, and then a ring's got put on. And this is kind of done for the metal work. And it will go across to assembly next. It still needs to be a little bit tidied up. It's a little bit rough around the edges, but that's pretty much that stage done. All of our drums across the whole range have this solid stainless steel drum to it, so they're really structurally sound. When the mesh goes on, it doesn't make the mesh move around too much. And because it is stainless steel as well, we can put UV in it as well, which really helps drum filters out. So it's quite a kind of bit we're kind of proud of, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's the bit you're buying is the drum.
Yeah.
And that's quite a nice solid bit of kit.
Yeah, and it looks nice as well. Like you've got different size slats between the different size drums as well.
Yeah, so some of them are done with larger slots to give you a bit more flow rate. So some of the smaller drums, I don't know if we've got one, probably not one we can see to hand. We have a larger slot, so our little drums are 150s. We haven't got any kind of joins in them. It's just one solid to give you that flow rate. And as we go through the range as well, we do trial kind of moving that to there to cut down the cut time on the machine, because it's an expensive machine to run. So we're kind of playing around with, if you can make the machine do one big cut, it's better than two small ones.
Yeah,
so there's an evolution with the range, which structurally you wouldn't see the difference. So it's just the kind of thing we're kind of playing with. But yeah, some of the big drums have got slightly bigger gaps and what have you.
Awesome. Some of the size of these other things that you're making as well are
humongous. So these are cages.
Right.
So if you go to a vet and your animals unfortunately have to stay there overnight or whatever, this is a twin door cage. So we make them out of stainless, and we also make them out of polyprop as well.
Wow.
So this is where we make them out of stainless. So there's loads of different sizes and shapes, and then we make all the doors.
Yeah.
So we make all these on site as well, and then we make all the
mechanisms.
mechanisms. So yeah, great for keeping the kids in.
Yeah.
So yeah, we kind of make all different shapes and sizes of the gates, and you see there's a selection of drums.
Yeah.
All different heights and what have you.
So where are we now?
So this is the warehouse solely for the Burtons Direct. So predominantly it's full of koi stuff. So we have a selection of drum filters, some more drum filters the other side, bio tanks, some heat pumps that we do, our shower units around that side. We've got a pallet of shower units going abroad soon. And so all our different kind of size drum filters.
Amazing. Bio chamber as well.
Yeah, there's a few different kind of sizes we've got. We're a bit low on stock at the moment because it's been quite a busy winter.
Yeah.
So there's a selection of showers and what have you.
Oh yeah.
Over that side. We used to have a part of the main warehouse, which is a building down. We used to have a few bays when we first started doing it, and then it kind of grew and grew and grew, and then it got to the point where we were probably annoying to them because we had too much space and overspill. So we just ended up dedicating a particular area for all the koi stuff, just to try and make it easy to control what we've got. So we have dedicated areas for each model. So stock's a little bit low at the moment, but we do try and aim to keep kind of 4 or 5 of every model in stock.
They're not cheap things to keep in stock all the time, are they either?
No, we don't mind having stock though, to be honest with you. We'd happily have, we're confident enough that if it's here, it will go, kind of thing.
Yeah, which is a good position to be in.
Yeah, so there's, if we had 2 or 3 times the amount in here at the moment, then yeah, it wouldn't faze us. So you can go and see some drums being made, the actual kind of drum bit.
Suppose all we need is a drum roll now, isn't it?
There'll be lots of noises, I can't promise that. So in here is where we plastic weld it all. So, right. So you'll see there's some, I think this is a flat bottom bio which is being started now.
Yeah.
So that's a drum when it's kind of finished.
Midway.
Finished for this department.
Right, I see, yeah.
So all the panels have been put in and welded in, the box section put on and what have you.
So it just needs the metal pieces put in here.
Yeah, so it needs it needs assembling now, so it needs all the other components added to it. But for this department, they've kind of done their bit.
Yeah. I hope that people are starting to see like the vastness of the scale of the business.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realise that it is quite a big place.
Yeah.
They just think there's a couple of us kind of making a few...
Loads of pieces.
Yeah, so these are that gear that we looked at earlier, that's where it's got its backing plate on.
Wow.
There'll be boxes and boxes of them. We make, that's for our float switch. We used to buy this in, but it wasn't quite the right length, so again we just cut it on a bit of delving ourselves. So these metal clips, that one we talked about earlier, that flat piece of metal.
Oh yeah, that's been bent.
I think it's that one there.
Yeah.
So it's had a fold put in it.
I see, yeah.
So let's give it its strength. And yeah, different nuts, bolts, everything's got a number and a name, and you can get lost.
Drum filter drive shafts and
Yeah, I didn't appreciate what an M4 hex head was before I started working here, and now I can bore you to tears about different nuts and bolts and washers and what have you. So yeah, we kind of, all the components, we buy lots of them.
yeah.
We don't kind of, if it's something we have to buy in, we're always kind of worried that we're going to run out. So we kind of, so that's the gear. It's now as a kit because they're all separate, so it's been deburred, so it's smooth to the touch.
Yeah.
And because they're A, B, C and D, they're put together. Just make it easier for when you do your installing. So this is one of those guys who just finished. It's a BD 500. That's kind of the waste chute, which is made in there, just kind of thrown with it for now. And then when they get to the next bit, they start putting all the components together. So this is the TF1000, our largest drum. And yeah, there's quite a bit what goes in between that and that in terms of work, but
wow, this a big old drum, that, isn't it?
yeah, so you might be able to see down there, there's the brass tips at the end, which are the ones that we make on our milling machine.
Oh yeah.
So that aids on these big drums. It's good to have extra flow just to kind of push the muck out of the waste chute. So you name it, we make it here for that. So that is that drum, if you like, with the gear on it waiting for a mesh.
I mean, you can see the scale of Andrew stood next to it. It's
That is quite a big, it's quite a large drum.
Yeah, crazy.
So 110,000 litres an hour, I think that can achieve. Wow. But yeah, so even like the wiring. So the control boxes, we all make them in-house. Obviously we don't make all the components, but we've designed them all. So we designed the program what goes into this.
Nice.
You know, the wiring loom, we do it all ourselves. And it's a greater control of the product. And also, because we made it, if anyone's got any questions about them, or we know, we don't kind of go, we don't know, we have to find out what happens with them. We've designed it so we know how it works and what it does. So once they've built them, so we've got a BD 700 on the wet bed, which is just being tested before it goes into the warehouse. So everything gets
quality controlled.
Yeah, because if there's any issues, it's really simple for us to rectify it.
Yeah.
So you can see it sprays the water from the wash pump at the back through the mesh, as any drum filter does, and then squirts out through the... What is always quite nice, you might be able to look inside the hole at the end, and you can actually see what a drum...
So this is the range then, the smallest drum?
Yeah, so this is kind of our starting drum, which is the BD 300 Cube. Many of the components are the same as our larger kind of drums, but we've simplified the spray bar and we've simplified the control box to try and bring the price down a little bit more, and people that are running maybe quarantine systems or smaller setups
Yeah.
Can still have the UV, in fact comes with the UV. This is the only one in our range that actually comes with the UV pre-fitted, if you like, or pre-included in the price. But yeah, quite a nice little kind of simple drum, 30,000 litres an hour flow rate,
Nice.
so still quite quite accomplished.
This pump, is that as standard as well?
Yeah, so this is it's the smallest wash pump we do, but all the drums have this type of wash pump. Really simple, 12 volts as well, so quite safe and then quite easy to clean. That's a little pre-filter. It's quite quick and easy to clean. So predominantly that's the main bit of maintenance of our drum filters, is just keeping that
Clean.
Yeah, not every week, maybe every month or so, depending on the setup. So yeah, so moving up, the drum's smaller, but obviously a bigger unit. So this is our 150 combi, 15,000 litres an hour capability. Up to 100 litres of fluidised media can be housed in here. We kind of designed it, this is our demo one, so we kind of designed it for an air stone to sit underneath, right under, so it doesn't move around. Again, all of our drums have pre-fits for UVs, so the UVs go straight through the drum and they kind of go right to like the back here inside, so it keeps the screen nice and clean, so it does reduce on maintenance on the screen. Maybe a little bit of limescale remover every so often, but generally you don't have to do much to it.
And this is just a step up on that one we've just looked at.
Yeah, so this was our original combi, the 300 combi.
Yeah.
This kind of was popular, probably one of our most popular units. Again, about 100 litres of media in there, maybe about 120 at times, depending on your flow rates. The drum's more capable though, 35,000 litres an hour. Well, if you're putting 35,000 litres an hour through here, you don't want to put 35,000 litres an hour through there. So on both sides, it's got a side outlet. So you can take water just straight back to the pond or via a shower, or waterfall, water blade, whatever you want. So you can get the flow rate that the drum needs and give the buyer its right flow rate.
Yeah, nice. It's just a nice handy optional extra, isn't it?
Yeah, if you're putting 35,000 litres an hour through there, you're not going to get the dwell time on the media, so which is quite important.
And we've seen that you've recently got the additional spray for the waste chute, which would go, I think it'd go on this side, wouldn't it, and spray outwards.
So it's in the TF models, yeah.
That's in the TF models, not the combi models.
Not the normal BDs, because a normal BD is a drum.
back.
It's got a back.
Yeah.
Our in-wall skimmers, which are quite a popular bit of kit. So it's a kind of simple theory. You've seen them skimmers that float.
Ah, okay, yeah.
So it bobs up and down. We've got a couple of bits of foam in there, so you take them out relevant to what flow rate you want, to what kind of pressure, because this is polyprop naturally floats, so it will be buoyant, but if you want it to be a bit more buoyant because you're putting more flow rate, you can add.
And this has all been burred down to prevent damage, I guess.
Yeah. So some people use that, some people they don't. You get it with it, so relevant to your kind of pond. If you've got big leaves, you might want to leave it on there because you can
manually get them.
Yeah, and then obviously this can go off to a drum filter. It's 4-inch outlet. It's kind of designed around a concrete block as well. So if you're building a pond, it kind of just slots in place instead. So these are our medias that we use. Fluidised chamber medias.
Yeah.
We like to mix them 50-50 in ours. We kind of find this has got a higher surface area, but doesn't quite tumble as well as this style.
Right. Okay.
So when you mix them together, you kind of get a good.
Get best of both worlds. Yeah.
You get a good flow. So moving on to our showers, we do a range of polyprop showers. We also do a 600 shower there. So the next size.
On these, you've not really got like the big gaps between the units.
No. So on this one, it's kind of. We find that it's trying to meet another criteria. It's getting a shower in the system, but it keeps them quiet. So a lot of people don't want a noisy shower.
Yeah, it's true, yeah.
So although there is something to be said for having to let the air get through, which you do still get air pulled through the system, they're a very quiet shower. If you have that running, it is quite a quiet system. The only noise is kind of coming out the bottom, not coming out of all of it. And again, it does reduce the heat loss as well, because it's quite tight in. So there's something for kind of everyone in terms of it.
There's a big old gap, isn't there, on the bottom as well for like gas exchange and
stuff like that. You wouldn't fill the whole thing up, if you like. You'd probably have 4 or 5 inches of difference, if you like, for it to kind of breathe. And so we do our larger stainless showers, which do have that gap.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, nice.
which you can get that transfer a bit better in that if that's the kind of thing you want. But say a lot of people, we find if you don't want that on the side of your pond, it doesn't suit the garden or whatever, these are a bit kind of softer, they're a bit quieter.
Yeah, yeah. But no, are you happy for people to come and visit you down here if they're interested?
Yeah, so it's an open showroom, which, yeah.
I think you can get like a better feel if you come and, you know, visit and put your hands on these products and, you know, understand the I mean, you're not going to give a manufacturing tour for anybody,
No,
but you get to feel the quality of the products.
Yeah, so we've got the core range in the showroom, which everyone can come and have a look at. I would say, unfortunately, the manufacturing tour is it's a bit tricky for various reasons, health and safety and what have you, to just let people walk around.
It's nice that you've been able to open it up for me.
Yeah, so
and people can watch this video and have a bit of understanding that, you know, you're not just a drum filter, you're a pet product manufacturer with wealth of experience in other areas as well. So
yeah, so it's kind of it's nice for people to come down, and we're happily explain it. There's quite a few other shops across the country that do our products and stock and carry and have running examples as well. Maybe if you're not down south, it might be easier to kind of
go
hunt
and visit
those out.
someone who has them, yeah. And hopefully we get to speak about another product that you're going to be importing or are importing at the minute that I'm quite excited about, but we'll tease people on that one and leave them hanging for now.
Yeah.
We'll come back to that one, I think. But yeah, it's been really good, and you're on Facebook and all in social media.
Yeah, all those kind of general platforms.
Yeah, so amazing. We'll leave it there, and I'm sure we'll be in touch over something new soon.